Okay, this is a video about calibrating a Nano VNA. Every time you change frequency or you change what is connected to your output channel, whether it be 0 or channel 1, you need to recalibrate it. If you change one or the other, you need to do it. If you add this to this, and this chord is not going to be part of your system that you're analyzing, you have to recalibrate it. In this case, if we're going to hook something directly up to this, and it is, say, the coax, and it's going to be part of the antenna system or whatever system you're analyzing, then you would calibrate it at this point. If you're going to add this, then you calibrate it with this connected. There, you'll calibrate it from this point. If you were to add a piece of coax for some reason, just as a jumper to connect this to your antenna system, and that section of coax that you have connected here is not going to be part of the antenna system as a whole, you'll have to calibrate it at the end of that coax. In this case, I'm going to use this to connect it to something, say an antenna, so I'm going to calibrate it here. So right now we'll connect this to here. It's actually a good idea to use this small cable because this SMA connector on the Nano VNA is small, and you could damage it if you have some bulky, say RG8 or something connected to it. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I use this. It's a good idea to use this cord as a buffer from stress on that connection. Now, what do you need besides this to calibrate? You'll need your 3 standards here. One is called an open. If I can get that in there, you'll see that it looks like like it's hollow inside, and it is hollow inside. You'll put this on, and you're not connecting the outside of this SMA to the inside of the SMA. You're just leaving it as it says open. As one guy said when he did this type of video, he was the ISMA guy. He said that looks like a little O in there for open. It's a good way to remember it. Essentially, it's just a hollow, non-connecting standard. Now you'll need this barrel connector because you'll notice that the threads on these are on the inside. Oops, is that get the light in there? Are on the inside, and the threads on this are on the inside. So you need this little barrel connector that should come with your VNA. All of this that I'm showing you should have already come with your VNA. So that just screws in there like that. Now, to start this up, we've got it set up like that. We're going to move our VNA over, and we're going to turn it on. The switch is there. Turn it on. Now in this case, I have the Smith chart up. If you're just going to measure SWR, you don't need the Smith chart, and we'll get to that on how to get rid of this Smith chart, but I'm going to leave it up. It's very good to have it up to demonstrate this. Now down on the bottom are your frequencies, your frequency range. down here and here, and we'll see those a little bit in a bit too. So to start this, we've turned it on, we have our cord set up, we need to go to, I have a special poker here, it's just a plastic tuning tool, screwdriver. I'm going to use that for this demonstration, because if I use the guitar pick that they sent with it, my fingers will be in the way as I'm poking the screen. You're going to have my fingers in the way. You're not going to be able to see what I'm poking. So I'm going to use this. And it works pretty good, but not great. But at least my fingers are out of the way. So we need to set first our frequency range. And remember, every time you change frequencies, you're going to have to recalibrate if you're out of the range that you set. I'm going to set this for the 15 meter band, which is 21 megahertz. So I'm going to set the start frequency, I'll go 2, it's kind of arbitrary, I'm going to go 2 megahertz below. So you poke the screen anywhere and you get this menu that comes up. You have display, marker, stimulus, calibrate, recall, and config. We want the display right now. I'll get to the display right now. The display, you can poke that and you'll get format, scale, channel, transform. You get trace. Traces allow you to get rid of, as you see, I have trace 0, which is this yellow one way over here. On channel 0, this is your channel number right here. And then it says up here channel 0 and it says SWR. So that one is where you're going to measure your SWR. The other one says channel 0 in green, and then it says Smith. That's what's put in your Smith chart. If you get rid of this trace, go away. There we go. Now you'll see the Smith chart is gone. But I like to leave it up. That was trace 2. And you'll see kind of why I like to have it. If you notice, I'll get rid of the trace. You'll have this green triangle right here, which matches the color of the Smith chart. When we calibrate it, this triangle, when it is open, you're going to want it right there. When you have your load on, you want it 50 ohms, you're going to want it right in there. And when you have it shorted, you're going to have your triangle right there. You'll notice that as we move along. Now your yellow trace is up at the top, and you don't have, there's a triangle for it, but you can't see it because it's at infinity. When we get it calibrated, you'll see it. So we'll start to calibrate. Need to go back, and we got our traces format. We want to go back again. Got our display, stimulus. We want to start, let me zoom this up so it exposes it right. You want to hit stimulus. That is where you're going to set your frequency. You have to set your frequency first, the frequency range. And I said we're going to do it for 21 megahertz. I'm going to start at 19. So we go to stimulus, and we hit up here, it says start. Start frequency. Hope I hit start. I'm going to go back in case I didn't. Maybe I'm not going to go back. Let's see what happens. Because I'm working at an angle here, it's hard for me to see what I'm doing. So we wanted to go 19.0. As you poke those numbers, it comes up down here. I poked a 1, a 9, and a 0.0, and we're in megahertz, so I want to hit megahertz. And you'll notice down in the very bottom it says start, and it says 12 megahertz. I did something wrong. It says 19. At my funny angle, I couldn't see straight, and I hit the stop instead of start. So we'll go back. And I'll try it from the other side, and we'll hit start. Start. When you hit it right, that comes up. And we're going to hit our 1. And you see it come up on the bottom when we out a little bit more. Came up down here. You hit 9. You hit 9. And it came up down there. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way, but sometimes I can't. And then you'll hit point. And then you'll hit 0. It shows up down here, 1.90, and then you hit M for megahertz. Now we'll look at the bottom of our screen. And you'll have a start frequency of 19 megahertz. Well, then we'll go back to our menu, and we'll hit stop. And it'll tell you down here too. I could have looked at that before I said it wrong the last time. It'll tell you right down here, stop. Now stop frequency was the old one. We're going to reset it. It said 21 megahertz. We're going to go to 23. I went 2 below and 2 above. So I'll hit. Get this adjusted right, so you can see everything. I'm going to hit 23. 2 shows up down there. I'll try it right-handed, so not in the way. 3, there's your 3 down there, right there. And then point, your point came up, 0 megahertz. So our stop frequency looks like it says 23 megahertz. Too much in there. There we go. 23 megahertz. So our bracket is 19 to 23 megahertz. 21, if I know how to do any kind of math, should be right in the middle. And that's where we want it. Now notice that little green thing again. That green triangle is way down low now. We want it up at that intersection. So now we take our open standard, which is this one, the one with the, as the IMSA guy likes to say, the open. the O for open, or it's hollow, so you know it's open. And you screw that on there. And we're going to go over here and bring up our menu. Our menu has start, stop, center, span. Doesn't have what we want, so we go back to stimulus. Nope, we don't. We go to calibrate. There's calibrate, and we hit calibrate, and we hit reset, and it should turn green. Look how your yellow line came down here with the little SWR triangle. Those are actually markers. It's marking the beginning at 19 megahertz. Okay. So we've hit reset, and we're ready to go to the other part of this, which is calibrate. And what did we put on the end of this pigtail? We put the open. So we poke open. See how it turned black? Got a little black frame around it, and then the short showed up. That means that you did what it's supposed to do. If that doesn't show up like that, then poke it again until it shows up. If you're holding on to this, I got a bunch of stuff here doing the video that sometimes I just don't hit it right because I'm working under this camera is kind of in the way. So now we go and we take our open guy off. And we get our next one. Now you'll notice, should have showed you this earlier, these three standards, I call them standards, they're, I don't know what else to call them. These three two of them are kind of the same color, sorta. And one of them is lighter. See, it's kind of silver. Also, these two other standards have a little ridge on the top. Right there. They're both kind of the same. You hit them with tweezers. Both kind of the same. And then this other one that's all different, he has a big copper top on him on the closed end. Those are on the closed end of these. But these are little, and this one's big. That's how you tell this guy's special, and we'll get to him later. Right now, we want this one. We used the one that said open. Now we're going to use one that has a little spike in the middle of it, right? See the little spike? Well, that little spike goes in that little hole. So it connects. It's called a short or a shunt. And it connects the outer part to the inner part, to that little spike. So now you have a short circuit between the outer shield and the inner conductor. So you put that on there. and you hit short. And you saw that it went black, a black background, and it moved down to load. So we come over and we take this off, and we grab the special one with the big brass top and is kind of silver. He also has a spike in the middle. This is your 50 ohm load. There can be others. In this case, it's 50 ohms. You can have a 75 ohm or whatever ohm, but this is your, in this case, it's our 50 ohm because almost all of our radios, their output to the coax is 50 ohms. So you want your load to be 50 ohms. So we're calibrating this to 50 ohms. And then you hit load. And then you hit ISOLN, isolation, I believe is what it abbreviates, but it sets some internal stuff inside of the Nano VNA that we don't need for this purpose. And then if you were going to use both channels, because you have a channel 0 and a channel 1 down here, and this little cap comes off, then you have another one of these that you can hook on there if you're going to measure coax lengths and maybe their impedance, measure whether they're good or not. You connect one end of the coax here and the other end of the coax here and use both channels. Or if you're doing a circuit or something, you may need both of those so it does a full loop. And then is what you would do is connect this other end of this. You would take your load off like this. Take this off, and you can just connect this, either connect it like this, make a loop, or use this other one with the barrel connector and then connect the end of this to channel 1. And then you would hit your through. Where it says through right here, you would hit through, and that tells channel 1 to calibrate channel 2 to the same, or channel 0 and to calibrate channel 1 to the same standards that you had just done. So both of them are on the same calibration. But since we're not using it, we can skip the through. If you want to do it, go ahead and do it. Connect them and hit through. We don't need to, so I won't. We will hit done. Seems to work better on this side. Hit done. Let's go back. We hit to calibrate. What was below done? Back was done. So we hit done. Yeah. Now we're going to hit save 0. The reason we're going to do that, that's a memory. That tells the Nano VNA that the information you just did, the calibration you just did, is to remember it. It puts it in memory, so if you shut this off by accident or on purpose or whatever, you don't have to go through all this again to recalibrate it. If you shut it off and it's not saved, you'll have to do it all over again. So I always save it into 0. And then we want to verify that we are at our stop and start, start and stop, 19 to 23, so we are calibrated to the frequency range we wanted. Now we're going to hook this up to, I'm going to put my load back on. Notice where the yellow line is and the green line is. If we put this back on, put our load back on, you'll notice that the SWR is all the way down here, and that green, let's see, are we going to focus? We want to focus. Okay, our green triangle is in the middle. Since we're using a 50 ohm load down here, this line is always, no matter what frequency you're on, that is always going to be a perfect one-to-one match, because we have a perfect load that the impedance of it is across the whole frequency spectrum, or at least the HF. So it isn't going to show any error here, because there isn't any error. Hook it to a real antenna, which I think I'll go do, and you'll see that line, and you'll see that marker, you'll see the SWR look totally different, and that green triangle won't be in the center unless the antenna is tuned to the frequency we want. So that's how you calibrate. Okay, I'm going to recalibrate this again without all the explanation, just to demonstrate how easy and quickly it is to calibrate it. With all that explanation, it may seem like what an arduous thing it is to calibrate this all the time, but it actually goes pretty quick when you're not explaining how to do it. So I'm going to say very little and just calibrate this, but this time I'm going to calibrate it to 18.1 megahertz. Open. Stimulus. Start. 16.0. Stop. 20.0. Stop. M. So we have 16 and 20 on the bottom. Start 16, 20. this is our short. We already put our open on there. There's our short. Notice how on the short the marker is way over here. Oh no, lost the load. Holy shit. Put our load on. Oops. Put our load on. And we weren't ready for that. Okay, we went a little out of order there and hit the isolation before we hit the load. That still loaded it okay. We're still in the middle at 50 ohms, and our SWR is all down here. Now when we take this off, the load off, our marker went over to here, and our SWR went up to infinity, so we're good to go. Didn't do it quite in order the way it was because I had a hard time hitting what I needed to hit, but we got it, and that's how quick it goes. It doesn't take long to recalibrate this each time you need to. So now we're going to go. We have it set at between. We have it set from 16 to 20. So that's 18, well, I'm going to go 18.1 megahertz band and show you what this looks like hooked up to an antenna for 18.1 megahertz. Okay, here we are ready to connect it up to an antenna. We have our little pigtail. Whoa! Yeah, I hope I didn't break that. That hit something hard. That's not good. That wasn't good. Okay. We got to watch out for that. It's not anchored down. It's just sitting there on that vise. Maybe I need to anchor him down in the vise. I might want to do that. That was kind of scary. Okay, so we have that on there. We need an adapter for the coax. To hook it up to the coax, I need to pull some coax out of the floor here. There we go. So where are we? Here we are. Because that's not going to plug into that. No way. And I'm going to change something here. Kind of quick, maybe. I don't like that setup at all. Yeah, that's a little better, as long as I ain't killing him in the vise. Yikes. Okay, so we got our pigtail on there. This won't plug into there. So we need a little adapter like this up in here. It's actually a SMA size to a coax size. I don't need the barrel connector. In some cases I do, but not in this case. So, because that'll plug right into here, right into there. I need my barrel connector, little barrel connector, SMA barrel connector, to go in there. And we'll find that in a jiffy. Okay, there it is. And we'll screw them in there. And hook this to the cable. And I'm going to hook this to here. And I'm going to let go of the cable and it'll yank my SMA all over the place. So what does this tell me? It tells me that I need a new antenna. Now my okay, the frequency that the marker is set on. I don't think I'll be able to read that. I'll be able to read that. Focus on it. It should, but it didn't. Oh, come on now, you can focus that far away, right? Get this little deal. Okay, is 18.0. 18.88. So we spin the little wheel here on the top. There's a wheel on top of this that moves that marker. And we're going to move him to 18.1. The closest I can get it is 18.12, close enough. And we don't want to move that, we just want to zoom out here. There we go. Yeah, maybe we do want to move that. And our SWR is almost on the bottom, right down here. Because that little wheel moves that little marker to your frequency. Over here it's at 18.5. As I do that, it goes to 18. There's 18.04, 1880, 18.12. So right down in here, that's pretty good SWR. And it actually tells you up top there you go. Put that in there. It gives them something to focus on. Is at 1.4. It's over here. 1 to 1.4. Not bad SWR. However, on the Smith chart, if I move this over here, my impedance is 68.3 ohms right in there. So focusing, yes, right in there. And we're 12.4 millihenries, so we need more capacitance on this. Yeah, I think it's 130 nanohenries. That's 68.2 ohms of impedance. And incidentally, if it was at 50 ohms, this marker would be right here in the middle. Actually, I'm pointing in the middle. In the middle of your Smith chart. Let me back out so we can see the whole Smith chart. And it would be in the middle right here. Right there. So as you can see, it's high, which is up here is inductive, down here is capacitive, and it's a little bit high and to the right. So we need to add a little bit more capacitance to this antenna to get to 50. But it's not bad. The SWR works, and I have made contacts with this antenna. It's an end-fed. It is not an end-fed half wave. It's an end-fed quarter wave. Should probably make it a half wave. I'd get a little better, but I've gotten DX with it. It's nice and hidden. And the purpose of this demonstration was to calibrate this and show you what it should look like on a decently matched antenna. And that's what we accomplished. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, hit a like and subscribe to my channel. And I have other videos. I have another video, a 4-part video, if you've seen it, on putting up a 6-meter antenna. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was a useful presentation.